So there's a common saying when dealing with passwords. Treat your passwords like underwear. Change them often. Don't share them. And don't leave them lying around. But who thinks that underwear is enough to really protect yourself? Just like passwords. Passwords are not enough to protect your data. We see this in the industry all the time. All across various sectors, we're always getting announcements saying, passwords have been compromised, please change them, blah, blah, blah. It's not enough to protect our data. So over the past year, I found it very interesting as we're starting to see a rise in the term of multi-factor authentication. Commonly, sometimes people call it two-factor, but you can also call it multi-factor. Well, what is a factor? What do different types of authentication mean? And there's three different categories that fall into multi-factor. So I'm going to talk about those particular factors to educate you, to give you a better idea of what those factors are. I'll give you a little quiz to see if you're paying attention when you think it's multi-factor or not. And we'll go through some maybe just caveats and some of the negative portions of each of the factors. So the first factor, we've already talked about it once. It's the knowledge factor. It's something you know, such as your password, such as maybe pins you memorize, such as security questions. These are all things you know. That's the first one. The second one is something you have. It's the key fob being found on board. These are the things you carry on. It could be your ATM card. It could be your phone, which is also a device type that people are starting to refer to also. But those things could also be lost. I've been working on a project recently at work to be able to roll out multi-factor. And when it comes to that token that somebody has, people get very defensive about the way that they want their token. They're grumbling because I can't put it on a phone at this moment. But there's a reason why I can't put it on a phone at this moment. And I'll go through that in a moment. The third factor that we're talking about is an interesting one. It's the inherited factor. It's something you are. So this is where it gets interesting with DNA, and in TV you see the retinal scan. I've actually experienced the hand scan, but there's also biometrics out there that measure the way you type. I was part of a different project a couple weeks ago that actually implemented biometrics. It was really cool. The fact that it would measure how you typed, the amount of time you spent pressing down the key, in between the keys, so that it was unique to you. I remember testing this, trying to do a song. A, B, C, D, E, F. Just trying to do a song so I could get a common pattern. The idea was if I gave you a password, you wouldn't be able to enter it because you would have different files. So those were the three different factors. And yes, as you increase from the first one all the way to the third one that I mentioned, you're going to get a higher level of comfort to know that you are who you are pretending to be, actually. But as you progress through what you know, what you have, and who you are, there's some negative pieces of this too. You have a higher expense factor, and you also have to give up more information about yourself. And this is going back to the project that I'm currently on, the grumbling about the mobile. We ran into a problem because our security group didn't want us to put the mobile phone accessible to the outside world. They deemed it as PII, personal identifiable information. And when you declare that something is personally identifiable information, you have to put extra measures on in order to make it safe. So therefore, adding the cost to the overall project and changing the architecture altogether. So you'll see also, as you want to do more things with online, are you willing to give everybody your cell phone? So you have to judge too, as you want to go through those multi-factors. Are you willing to give that information up? Going back to the what you are. Are you willing to put your blood type on file that these companies are going to hold on to it? And then what are they going to do with it? So these are some of the caveats of multi-factor authentication. So then, let's go through a quick little you a username and password, is that multi-factor authentication? No. Correct. What about if I gave you a username, a password, and the answer to the question of who is your mother's pet nickname? Or what is your mother's pet nickname? Is that multi-factor authentication? I found a term that actually describes, it's called multi-confirmation. So you're in one particular type of authentication factor, but you're asking over and over again, are you really who you say you are? Then the next one is if I give you a username, password, and a PIN set to your phone. Then. Yes. And what about a badge and a hand scan? Very good. So in closing, multi-factor means that you have more than one way to identify yourself. You have something you know, something you have, or something you are. Security is a balancing act. You have to decide high security, but potentially high cost, and high information capacity value. But just like you choose what type of clothes you wear to protect yourself